If you don't have your health and your energy and your confidence, you are holding yourself back in everything in your life. And if you're holding yourself back as a mom, you're holding your kids back too, because they are watching you. It does not matter what you say. The kids are watching. So for the mom that feels guilty taking time out for herself, you're really taking that time so that you can give more to your kids, to your people, friends around you, your family. That's how we give back. It has to start with you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Mike Mutzel with HighIntensityHealth.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we're live with the New York Times bestselling author, certified nutrition specialist, and nutrition and fitness expert, JJ Virgin. She's the author of many books that I think you can see on your screen: The Sugar Impact Diet, The Virgin Diet, and we're going to talk about one of her first books, 6 Weeks to Sleeveless and Sexy. So, JJ, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yes, we're going vintage, huh?
I love it. Let's do it. So we met in person for the first time at Dr. Peter Osborne's marketing event in Houston. But I've been a fan of your work for a long time. And I remember back on the Designs for Health clinical rounds, you would teach those, this was back in like 2006. But your career has just taken off. And so I want to kind of weave in the mindset component, because you're a really confident, outgoing person. And I think, your mindset and goal strategies can be applied to weight loss and helping people feel better. So share with us some tips about your own mindset goal setting strategies and maybe how people can implement that to improve their body comp.
All right. That's awesome. I didn't know you were going that direction. It's my favorite actual direction to go. In fact, I am pitching a book about that right now and moving into that space, because that's really how you do everything. In fact, I love that term. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I've pretty much always been in business for myself, except for a brief 3 months when I had a job and then I got fired.
Love it.
Because I had too many ideas. But I always have mentors. And I think one of the big secrets to success, whether you're trying to lose weight, have better arms, get a bigger business, be a better parent, is to find someone who's doing it better than you and then pay them. Don't go try to pick their brain. Just give them some money and hire them to help you, because then they will, right? And one of my early mentors said, the single best thing that you can do for personal growth is to build a business, and it will bring up all your stuff. And what I've really realized in life is that you cannot outgrow your self-image, and you really get what you expect. So if you have a very good self-image, you have good self-confidence, which, either happens because you had awesome parents, or it happened because you most likely have also done a lot of personal growth.
Right.
But then it's really about expecting great things and knowing you deserve that and that you're worthy.
Well, that's a fantastic segue, JJ, to what we're going to talk about. So I like how you emphasize that you stress to people that they pay for coaching, because I think a lot of people just want all this free information. There's summits every week now, and they don't really want to pay for anything, but they're constantly learning. So talk to us about maybe the commitment associated with paying someone that is where you want to be and why that's so important.
And I'm not bashing all this great free information. I mean, I have a whole team. We are dedicated to that. But the bottom line is you commit with your wallet, right? And I learned the hard way back early on helping people with, their health and weight loss, because I'd want to give them things and I do it all for free and they didn't value it. And the more I charged, the bigger the value was. And I remember my very first coaching program that I ever paid for, I wasn't broke. I was $500,000 in debt. Okay. So I was underwater. And I hired a woman because I knew that I would listen to her and I knew she knew what to do. And it was $100,000 that I did not have. And I was the sole financial support for my two kids. They were, I think, 7 and 8 at the time. And I was like, and people were like, what are you doing? And I go, I have to do this. It's because I have to do this. And I looked at it and people talk about 10Xing their business. Well, I started at negative 500,000, went to 550,000 that year. And that wouldn't have happened if I just listened to her online, webinar or, her training calls or whatever. It happened because I said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get every penny's worth of this. and I did.
Love it. This is fantastic information. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. So if you could kind of give people maybe the steps. So we need to pay for a mentor because we're really going to be financially vested in that and really follow through on the teachings.
Well, you have to back up from that because you don't know which mentor you need until you know what it is you want. And so I think the first thing is what is that, goal that you want to achieve? What is the big dream and something that excites you that uses your unique ability that you're going to go for. And I look at my coaches, and first I knew I wanted to build a business online, so I hired Allie Brown, and then I knew I wanted to improve my speaking. I've hired Lisa Sasevich and Victoria LeBalm. I'm giving all my best people away. Then I knew I wanted to do a New York Times bestseller, and I hired Brendan Burchard. Then I knew I needed to network at a much higher level because people were not thinking. I needed to be around people that were thinking so much bigger than me. So I hooked up with Joe Polish. And then I realized my business needed to be structured because it was just getting duct taped to death. And so then I started working with Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. And then I wanted to do live casting. So I started working with Mike Koenigs, and then I was doing launches. I started working with Jeff and John Walker, and specifically John Walker. So I just kept finding the people who were excellent in whichever area that I wanted to go into. And and what I do is I go find the single best person I can get a hold of. And most people, you can get a hold of most people, and I go work directly with them. I just go shortcut it because I think you save so much time and ultimately time and money when you just do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fantastic. And those are really big names, Brendan Burchard and Jeff Walker and all these different folks and so forth. So fantastic info. Now, you hit on something, and that's defining your goal first. And I would love to kind of dive deeper into that because what I've learned from studying, your work and Brendan Burchard's is that we're really on this planet to serve others. So let's just use the context of weight loss. Maybe you or I being lean, that's going to help us get our message and have more credibility in front of a stage. What would you suggest for maybe a stay-at-home mother who wants to lose weight or someone like that? Like, how can they really define their goal so that they can link the weight loss with the goal that's something bigger than themselves?
It's really become my hero's journey. And so for so many moms, they put themselves last and they feel guilty taking the time out for themselves to eat correctly. We know the single most important thing you can do to lose weight is not exercise, it's diet, but to eat correctly and deal with stress and sleep and exercise. And so they don't do it, not realizing that they are the ultimate role model for their kids, number one. But number two, if you can't be physically present, if your health, your energy, your weight is holding you back, you're not going to be able to be the best parent. And in some situations, that can make the difference between your child living and dying. So, a couple of years ago, right as the Virgin Diet was getting ready to be published, and I had everything invested, like I tend to do, into that book. I was all in. And again, sole support of my kids. They were 15 and 16 at the time. And there's something about Skype that makes me always feel that I must itch. Like, the minute the camera's on, I'm like, everything's itchy right now. Anyway, so I think it was maybe 6 weeks prior to the book coming out, and my son gets hit by a car, victim of a hit and run, left for dead in the street. And I spent the next 4.5 months in the hospital, and the first couple weeks in the ICU, and the first 2 weeks with him in a coma, and sitting next to him with my laptop, working on my book launch. I remember I broke $1 million sitting in that ICU, talking to him. He was in a coma, but I knew he could hear me. And he said, Mom, this gray man came to me and asked me if I wanted to live or die. And I really didn't want to live. He said, but I kept hearing your voice. And so I told him I wanted to live. And I was like, I knew you could hear my voice. But, when your son's in the hospital, you have to be there, because if you're not there, they make decisions. They told us to let my son die, that he had too many things. He had torn aorta and brain bleeds, and he was too far gone. And we were coming out because you know about food intolerance and losing weight fast. And for months, I got up at 5 a.m, drove to the hospital, was there during the day, ran the hospital stairs. People were bringing me food from Whole Foods. I would go back to the hotel because I, wasn't near my house. I had to move, go to sleep, get up in the morning, do the same thing, lather, rinse, repeat. And had I not been in amazing health, I never would have pulled that one off, and I would not have my son here. And so, you look at it, and yes, it's an extreme example, but you never know. I didn't know that morning that my son was going to be left for dead in the street. You don't know if that's going to happen, or maybe you get called with this incredible opportunity, but I'm not ready. I'm 30 pounds overweight and I don't have the confidence. Like we all have these things that are holding us back because we keep putting it off, going, I'll do that, but it's not a priority. Yes, it is. Like if you don't have your health and your energy and your confidence, you are holding yourself back in everything in your life. And if you're holding yourself back as a mom, you're holding your kids back too, because they are watching you. It does not matter what you say.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching you. I just had a birthday. I'm less excited about my birthdays these years, but I just had a birthday and my one son said, Mom, I could not be prouder to have you as a mom. I really hit the lottery, landing you as a mom.
Right.
With
sweet.
all that you've accomplished. I'm like, that is so awesome. Yes, my soon to be 18-year-old. So, that's the stuff that's important because the kids are watching. So for the mom that feels guilty taking time out for herself, you're really taking that time so that you can give more to your kids, to your people, friends around you, your family. That's how we give back. It has to start with you.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. So make it bigger than yourself. Now, I've been following your story kind of through Facebook and social media, and this strategy happened before the launch of the Virgin Diet. Is that right?
Yes.
So that was a major successful book. That got you on the New York Times bestseller.
Yes, for like 26 weeks, I think. And then, so I did that. I did a PBS show with it. I am a big fan of public television because you have time to get your message out there. So I did that again with Sugar Impact Diet, and I'll do it again with the next book. But then what I did was just listen to what people were asking me, and people were asking me about sugar. They wanted more recipes. The two things were, we want more recipes, and they were totally confused by sugar, or they just couldn't get it out of their diet because they were so controlled by their cravings. And I'm like, okay, So it was really clear to me what the next books needed to be. And then after that, it's like the number one question I really get asked everywhere now is about my son. And I think I look at my son and I tell him he's walking hope. He's like, why do all these people want to come talk to me and touch me? Because I bring them to talks. I did a talk for California Women's Conference and did a cheat. I brought him up on stage because I wanted to make sure I was right after or right before Jack Canfield. and I love Jack, but I was like going, if I'm going before Jack, I want to make sure that we hit it out of the park, get a standing ovation. So I brought Grant. But so many people, I think, can relate to the story, moms, dads, and it just gives you hope when you see someone who was told there was not a chance come back through it.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to get that timeline kind of ironed out for everyone listening is because I think if you didn't have that willpower and those goals set and the big picture, that you envision for your life and for helping other people, it would have been easy to just put the book project off and say, you know what, my son is more important. I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. to go work out and maintain a high level of health. So I think that's why having the goals are really important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something I've been working on with our group for another group I put on called the Mind Share, and it's really your guiding principles. And once you get really clear on what your guiding principles are, then you don't have to think about, well, should I get up and work out? And am I going to still keep going with this? My friends who knew me well, so on Facebook, I literally had people write in and say, don't worry about, now this is very funny, don't worry about your job. It will be there waiting for you. And I'm thinking, I don't have a job. I have a company and it will fall apart, but it's like, it will be there waiting for you. You just stay in that hospital and take care of your sweet boy. And I'm going, my friends who knew me were like, oh, now you're really going to go big with this book. I go, I have to, I have to like it just put the no option sign by it. Cause at the time I had no idea what it was going to take to bring my son back. I didn't know, is it going to take, I call him the multi-million-dollar kid. Thankfully, insurance paid for most of that. But, still there's so many bills. It's a six-figure bill already, but I didn't know if it would be seven. And there's no way you want to look at your son and go, you know what, I can't get you help better because I don't have the money to do it. You're going to do whatever you have to do, right?
Gosh, thanks for sharing that story with us. And let's before we talk about sugar and recipes, I want to kind of highlight your morning routine. I think that's a really critical window for people when they start the day. Very successful, high-performing people have a routine. And I would love to hear what your routine is and maybe some tips for women out there.
So I'm a total morning person, always have been. And your morning routine is so critical because it really is the only time you can actually control the day. Like you can plan all the rest of it and who knows what happens. That's why people who work out in the morning tend to be the most consistent with it, although I don't work out in the morning. Oh. But I am consistent with exercise. And I'll tell you why I don't work out in the morning unless I absolutely have to. Like if I'm on the road, it's the only time I can do it, I will do it. I prefer to work out in the afternoon because my brain is best in the morning. And so I want to use it as much as possible. So when I get up in the morning, first thing I do is if I'm traveling, I always tell room service when to bring me coffee. In my perfect world, I live in an amazing hotel and people bring me things all day long. Right. I love that. But at home, it's not so much. I go turn on my bulletproof coffee and then I get my intentioning journal and I start the day every day and I intention. And by intentioning, I look at things I'm grateful for, and this was never more true than I was dealing with my son. It's like, what the heck are you grateful for, right? But I look at what I'm grateful for, but then I look at what things I want to have happen. What are the things that I'm really going for? And I kind of learned this from Lisa Sasevich because I will write really concrete goals and I share those concrete goals. It turns out that if you set a goal, you're 40% more likely to have it achieved. But if you tell other people, it's 80%. So I try to get really clear, concise goals. However, I also then do some free form. So this, like my journal is just a hodgepodge of stuff. I just will write down everything coming up in my brain. And then I always do some intentioning around some personal goals and some things going on with my kids. And then some very specific business goals. I tend to default, to be honest with you, over to business. And I've been working a lot more on the personal side because business is so much easier. It's so much easier, right? So I'm working a lot more in the personal, which is not that easy. But that is what I do. And then once I'm up and I take my thyroid meds that I get from Dr. Alan Christensen, then I will have my shake. Every day I start the day with a shake, whether I'm on the road or at home, with my shake mix and coconut milk or almond milk. And I actually have So Delicious little ones I travel with and avocado. And I throw in extra fiber and chia seeds. So every day I do that. And I travel with a NutriBullet and lock that in. And then after that really depends on what's going on. Ideally, I try to do my writing, any brain power stuff I try to do in the morning because that's the only time I can do it. If I have to write scripts or business plans or any of that stuff, it's morning. And if I'm home, I like to work through the morning before I do any real calls and have some block time. So that's usually my goal. And then I go off and do calls. And then I do a workout somewhere between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. is my favorite time to work out. And it's kind of old trainer habits because that's, when you're a trainer, you tend to train people from 6 a.m. till usually 1 p.m. And then you have this break where no one wants to work out till 4 p.m., 3 or 4 p.m. So you have that dead break. And the cool thing about that break is, I have a gym in my house, but I also go to the gym. I'm always changing it up because it gets really old otherwise. Yeah. But I love to work out between 1 and 3 because I do not go to the gym for the scene at all. Mm-hmm. And people don't seem to realize that. No matter how many times I always feel like I'm trying to train people at the gym that I am not here. This is not my social life. This is like I'm working out. So even if I don't have any music on, like sometimes my phone won't work and Pandora won't pull up, I still have my headset on. Mm-hmm. So they think that I'm actually listening to something.
That's a great strategy. Yeah. So many people go to the gym to just chat it up, and they're there for 90 minutes, 2 hours, and they don't do a whole lot. Now let's kind of circle back. So you said that it's really important to write down your goals. And then you said that individuals that tell other people about their goals, 80%, hit those goals. So what about using social media like Instagram to post your workout pictures or food pictures? I've noticed a lot of trends where people that are really healthy and stay lean, that commitment and consistency follows through. So any tips there on using social media as a way to kind of tell your friends?
It's interesting. I'm working with, I don't know if you know Manish Sethi and Pavlok. Mm-mm. It's very cool. It's called Wear Your Willpower, and it's a little shock trainer. And part of what they do is if you don't do what you're supposed to do, it shows up on social media. He didn't go to the gym or he ate sugar. So, I love that too. I make a point of putting as much out there as I can on social media about things that I'm working on. Not necessarily all of it, because I think people would think I'm crazy, and I am, by the way. So I just posted one because someone was like, you're crazy. And I go, yeah, I know I'm crazy. But, the Steve Jobs quote,
right.
We're all crazy. But I love that idea. I know what I've done for my clients over the years, and it started out with me working one-on-one with people, but then I realized how much more effective it was when I put people in interactive forums and they could support each other and publicly announce their goals and support each other back and forth. And all of a sudden I went, wow, this is way much more effective than me working with them one-on-one, is when they start to state it. So when we do our programs, we every quarter will do an online challenge. And one of the first things we have people do is state their big stretch goals, those big get real inspired goals. Not the little, I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like, what is going to change in your life when you do this? Why are you doing this? And yes, it should scare you a little bit. And I'll tell you, there's the coolest thing that Dan Sullivan taught me about that, because I've always felt that if I'm not feeling scared, I'm not pushing myself enough. And what he talked about was, you set up this commitment, a goal. And you get scared because going after that commitment takes courage. And then you realize you're going to have to learn some new stuff in order to make this happen. You need new capabilities. And then you do that and you get confidence, which then makes you go after a bigger commitment, right? And so it starts this really cool confidence cycle. And I love that, because when you think about that, that's exactly how it works. You make the commitment or set a goal. You get scared. You have got to have courage. You go learn new skills. You've got capabilities, and that makes you so confident, and around you go.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's great. Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of get stuck with inaction, so they don't take any action, so they're not scared. They're not committed. They constantly are like learning what to do and don't make those steps. So that's a great point. I mean, I can use my life as an example. A year ago, there's no way, JJ, that you and I would be doing a face-to-face interview. I'd be nervous and uncomfortable. And I just one day said, you know what? I'm going to do a video podcast and just commit to it. My first one wasn't that good, I admit. But a year later, here I am, and you and I are talking and having a fun time, and people will benefit from this. And so if you link it to your big goal, that's awesome. So let's kind of talk about some dietary strategies and then maybe finish off with exercises. So we know sugar's really, not good for maintaining a lean physique, but there's also, people are consuming hidden sources of sugar. So give us a breakdown on sugar and so forth.
Well, we've really been looking at sugar all wrong. And it's really not about no sugar. It's about knowing which to choose and which to lose. And you can't do that based on the current model, which is the glycemic index, because the glycemic index looks at how much a food raises your blood sugar. And it looks at a specific amount, 50 grams, which could work for a potato, but doesn't work at all for carrots. But it also doesn't take fructose into account. And the thing we now know is that fructose, which is the primary sugar from fruit, but also is in a lot of the processed foods with high fructose corn syrup, or table sugar is half fructose, is that fructose behaves differently than any other sugar. And it's more detrimental than any other sugar because it goes straight to the liver, where it tells your body to start making fat, and it didn't raise blood sugar, so it didn't trigger any satiety signals. So this current way we look at sugar is actually very problematic, because it makes agave look like a health food, which is why it's shoved in so many health foods, when it is the devil. So I looked at this, I went, this is so ridiculous. 2 pieces of wheat bread raise your blood sugar more than 6 teaspoons of sugar. Artificial sweeteners raise insulin. We've got to reframe this so that people can look at, how much is this impacting your blood sugar and insulin? What's going on with fructose? And then what about the good guys, nutrient density and fiber? So I made something called the sugar impact scales. Is this helping you have energy or crash and burn fat or store fat, build muscle or burn it? And I rated foods. I always like 7s. I put 7 categories of foods because the bottom line is all carbohydrates except for fiber are going to turn to sugar. It's just whether your body's slowly turning them into sugar or you are mainlining it, which you obviously don't want to do. You want your body to slowly be able to make some sugars. And so I created a scale which rates foods high, medium, or low so that people can go through this and start to swap some of the high sugar impact foods for medium sugar impact foods. And I have people taper down because one of the big problems I see out there is people say no more sugar and they just cut it and their body crashes because they've trained their body to use sugar as their natural fuel source instead of relying on stored body fat. So we taper down and then I go through a little reset period. And my whole premise was that you can actually retrain your taste buds and make sweet food taste gross. That's what I set out to prove. And I did it with over 700 people. And that was the general consensus in 2 weeks or less is that sweet food just tastes gross and people lost their sweet tooth forever. How cool. No more relying on willpower because willpower sets you up to fail.
Right. Oh, that's amazing, JJ. And let's kind of talk about fructose because if you go to GNC or even professional supplement companies, the low glycemic stuff and the weight loss shakes and the detox shakes often has fructose as a sweetener. So, gosh, what's up with that?
There is a very popular medical grade shake out there that is some kind of, it's called, the basic premise is, and in the name, there's something about it being a blood sugar balancing shake, and it's loaded with fructose. It has like 17 grams of fructose. And I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. It's going to make you diabetic. But it is because of that misconception that if something doesn't raise blood sugar, it must be good, or if something doesn't have calories, it's okay. The best example of a bad experiment is the whole artificial sweeteners thing, where people are like, well, it doesn't have calories. We got to move out of the calorie counting paradigm because it's not about the calories. You can eat foods with no calories that still tell your body to store fat because they raise insulin. And artificial sweeteners are a great example of that.
Mm-hmm. That's great information there. So let's kind of talk about stevia and xylitol. Like where do you fit in on the natural sweetener spectrum?
So sugar alcohols, the ones I like are xylitol and erythritol, and sweet herbs, I like monk fruit and stevia. However, you still should not become a little piggy with these things. Like, to me, they're great to use to taper down. But what happens when you eat sweet is you want more sweet. And when you eat sweet that doesn't have calories, you cause calorie dysregulation. Your body no longer can correlate the degree of sweetness with the calories, and it can cause you to tend to overeat. So those are the ones that I call low sugar impact, that I give people as alternatives, but they're not a free for all. That's the important thing. And that's why they're kind of nice, because let's face it, if you eat too much xylitol, you're going to have gas that can clear a room. Stevia will get bitter. So it's nice. These ones kind of are hard to overdo on because they all have issues with them. But again, I want people to appreciate savory, spicy, sea salty, and also sour. One of the big tricks Donna Gates gave me to take your sweet tooth away is to do sour, because the sour naturally takes your sweet tooth away, which is why fermented foods not only are helping the gut microbiome that gets trashed by sugar and artificial sweeteners, but also helps get rid of your sweet tooth.
That's fantastic. So examples of sour foods outside of like sauerkraut and kimchi, would bitters kind of fall into that category, or is that different?
Bitters help with digestion, so I think they would. This is really more of a Donna question. I'll tell you which one I've been using because I'm a baby about this. Like, she and I got together and she showed me how to make, sauerkraut and all these pickled vegetables, and I'm like, disgusting, just disgusting. Right. And I'm on the road. Like, what am I going to do? I know, I was in Dr. Mercola's office and he's traveling with his sprouts. And I'm like, dude, that's so great. But like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Like, I got a NutriBullet, but that's about as far as this is going. This is already out of control. I can't take 3 suitcases now. So I use this stuff called Kavita, and it's this fermented coconut water, and it is delicious. It is so good. And they, to me, are my soda replacement. So I have 1 or 2 of those a day, and they're incredible, incredible, incredible. And so that's how I've managed to get around it. And honestly, I'd love to say that I'm doing, Donna, I'm so sorry, honey. I'd love to say that I'm doing those pickled vegetables. And she even gave me some she made.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Sadly enough, I'm not.
Right.
I just can't.
It's tough.
It's tough. Those and the little sardines. Those are 2 things, like things in life I want to say that I do. I want to say that I don't swear. I want to say that I do yoga. I'd love to say I do sardines and pickled vegetables. But sadly enough, I don't.
Right.
Those are like those classic, I'm going to make these New Year's resolutions. I don't even bother anymore.
Right. That's funny. Oh, my goodness. Well, Donna's been a long-time listener of the show and a great person, so I'm glad that you guys are sharing some cool ideas.
I love Donna. Yeah, Donna's the bomb. She's amazing. Anytime I ever have a question on gut stuff, I've got my go-tos in every area, and she's my gut go-to.
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous. Fantastic. So we kind of tackled the diet, and for anyone that wants to learn more about that, that's in JJ's book, The Sugar Impact Diet. And JJ, let's kind of finish off with some specific routines for women, those troubled areas, the back of the arms, the shoulders, the glutes. Like, break it down for us. What are we doing? Sprints, weight training, push-ups, CrossFit? What have you found to be most effective?
All right. Well, I'm all about how to get the biggest bang for your time buck. So for me, everything is about how to do the most, the least amount. And so first of all, diet's more important than any single other thing. And there was a great study that came out today, and the big thing they said was you can't outrun a bad diet. And honestly, I've been saying it for years. I started out as a personal trainer 30 years ago, and I realized very quickly that you could not out-exercise, a bad diet. So I was like, okay, I got to learn the diet. So I dropped out of one grad school to start the nutrition grad stuff. But assuming that part's dialed in, then there's 2 things that you really need to do. And one is burst style training. And you don't have to do a ton of this. That's the cool news. 4 to 8 total minutes, a couple days a week. And you can do this by running upstairs. You can do this by sprinting. You can do this on a bike. You can do it with jumping jacks, jumping rope, unbelievably hard. I did it this morning. I got on my exerciser, and I jumped and did some bursts. And then I went on my stairs. I actually have those stairs that go around, the big stairs in my garage. Doesn't everybody? Right. So, in my garage, I have the big stairs that go around. I have a big step bench. I have my exerciser. I have a step mill. I have cables, and I have a sunlight and sauna. It is like the best garage of all time. Right. No cars could ever go in there, but who cares? So this morning I did some of the big stairs that go around, and I did the exerciser. When I'm traveling, my very favorite way to burst is to get into the hotel stairwells. And as long as there's, 4 flights of stairs, you can pull this off. And I either go up them twice, 2 at a time, or I run them and then I come back down, and I repeat until I've done this enough times that I just am wiped. But it's usually, I always tell people, if you can go past 8 minutes total of hard bursts, you did not burst hard enough. And you do 30 to 60 seconds all out and recover for twice as long. So that's the first thing that you do. And that's really to burn off your fat burning enzymes or fat storing enzymes, elevate growth hormone, and create a lot of oxygen debt your body has to recover from. It makes you younger and better at burning fat and better at handling stress. And then the other thing is to do resistance style training 2 to 3 times a week, big muscle groups. Like, you don't see me at the gym doing little bicep curls and tricep extensions. Right. I don't do it. I do pull-ups, I do push-ups, I do bent over rows, chest presses. I do things that with dumbbells or my own body weight or cables, and I try to do it in as unstable a situation as possible, standing on one leg, on a ball, standing, that kind of thing, rather than sitting locked into a machine, which is not how we are in life.
Right. I love it. Great summary. Now, for women, do you recommend strength training 3 days a week, 4 days a week? Like, what's the minimum that's really effective?
Well, the minimum effective dose for women is to hit each body part at least twice a week. But since women don't build muscles easily, I'd rather see them do each body part 3 times a week. And what I have people do is divide the body into four different parts. Upper body pushing, that's things like push-ups, chest press, overhead press, dips, upper body pulling, bent over rows, pull downs, one arm rows, upright rows, hips and thighs, squats, lunges, step ups, plies, and power core. So all different types of abdominal exercises. And so you could either go in and like one day do upper, one day do lower and abs and rotate back and forth, or you go in and do that, 6 days a week, or you could go in 3 days a week and do all of it. I want you to do at least 3 exercises for each of those 4 areas and do at least 2 sets of those 3 exercises, 8 to 12 repetitions, 60-second rest break. That's the best for hypertrophy. I've been doing, generally I do 3 sets of 5 exercises for each area, but I've been taking it down. I'm doing a little mess. I'm always messing around.
Love it.
So I actually had to watch out because I tend to get too muscular.
Yeah.
Which then it could get scary.
Sure.
So
Yeah. No,
it does look so good on. I was looking at some picture of me. Here I am in a gown. Wow, that's thunder and lightning. That is amazing.
Cool.
I was looking at me in a gown, and I'm standing like this in this gown. It's like poof, and I'm like, oh, too much. Okay, we'll let that go down. No more bronzer for JJ.
That's awesome. I love it. I love how you summarize that. That's really easy. Just upper body push and pull, lower body push and pull. Great summarization there.
Easy.
Yeah, fantastic. So there's 3 final questions that we ask every guest on the show, JJ. And I know we're getting tight on time here. So the first question would be, if you were to take just one supplement, like say you're going to go on vacation for a month and you could only bring one herb, nutrient, or botanical, what would that be and why?
I can only take one thing.
One thing. Your just all-time favorite, or maybe something that you think everyone should be on.
You're looking at someone who takes a Dixie cup of supplements, but I'll tell you, I do a ton of testing. And the number one thing I see people deficient in is vitamin D. Because you could eat a lot of fish while you're there. I'm a big fish oil person, saved my son. But the number one thing I see people deficient in is vitamin D. And if you're deficient in vitamin D, it's really not a vitamin, it's a pro-hormone. It sits at the top of everything and it really dictates so much. So vitamin D would probably be my number one.
Love it. Great information. Now, the second final question, if you were to bump shoulders with Barack Obama or a future president in an elevator, and you just had 30 or 60 seconds to share with them one lifestyle or health tip that you would like them to implement some policy around, or at least educate America on, what would that lifestyle or health tip be and why?
I actually think the single biggest change that could make the biggest impact would be to get more sleep. So if I had to pick one thing, it would be to emphasize all of us getting enough sleep, the 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night that all of us need, because it's sort of rewarded in our society to be stressed out and to deprive ourselves of sleep.
Yeah, great info. Awesome. Okay, so what's coming up with you in the future? What exciting projects you have or products? And where can our listeners learn more about you, JJ?
What's coming up? Well, let's see. The kids are both heading away from home. So is mom. And personal development book in the works. I've got my Sugar Impact Diet cookbook just coming out, and a Mind Share Summit with all the cool health experts getting together once a year coming up. And a livecast, Health Network livecast, launching in September with my partner, Mike Koenigs. And going back into partnership with my favorite supplement company of all time, Designs for Health. So lots of fun stuff happening here, and a lot more fun free time too. Yay.
Fantastic. So the best website and online resources is just jjvirgin.com.
Yes, okay. jjvirgin.com.
Love it, JJ. Keep up the good work, and thanks so much for being here.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.